Well, I don't know. It depends really probably how the 2018 election goes, because if Democrats can't pull out that election after they're supposedly woken up and we have our own Tea Party and all this stuff and we're in the streets and we have pussy hats and, you know, the whole thing is going on. I mean, if Democrats controlled these intelligence committees, yes, then absolutely he could be impeached. But as it is now, you know, the Republicans, they're pretty amazing the way they are party over country.
Yeah, this is where we part ways. This is where we part ways. I do not agree with that at all. I agree that Republicans do party over the public. Democrats also do party over public. Look, I had to go at Bill Maher in one of the other segments. I think it was about a month ago. Because I was pointing out this hypocrisy where it's a Rachel Maddow effect. I'm only going to look at one side, and I'm going to castigate that one specific side. Now, if you didn't know any better, and you were watching that show, and the only thing you saw me do was going balls out after one side, implicitly it makes this other side look better. Mind you, that other side that you're not paying attention to is not the object of your scorn. When you're talking about this other side, you're talking about them with a particular fondness. So right off the bat, even though you may not vocally say it's all one side, the tenor of the show, the context of the show, or even you can even say metadata in that sense of the show, gets that point across extremely well. The point doesn't have to be spoken to be understood. The case I'm making is that Bill Maher does similar stuff. The way he focuses on one very specific side, giving this other side a pass for similar behavior. Tell me, joke man, what happened in the primaries? What happened in the primaries? So you had Hillary Clinton play up what was called a Pied Piper candidate. Now you guys have called this guy everything but a child of God. You've called him the goddamn apocalypse. She played up that apocalypse. It was only going to be two people running that race. The fact that Trump had any chance at all to be president is terrifying. And yet, the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, did that purely for political ends. It had nothing to do with the country. She made the assumption that he would be the easiest, if not the only, candidate she had a chance of beating. But she's held to probability at this point. What I mean is there's a statistical chance that Trump can become president, and not a bad one. Which means she's putting this country in line of a bullet for her own political aspirations. Now, keep going with that. Because right off the bat, that's literally party before country. To compound that, in the primaries when she was running against Sanders, she cheated the strongest candidate. By any metric that you look at in those primaries, Sanders was the strongest candidate. He had more momentum, he had more drive and more energy. He was bringing in more money, which is amazing because he wasn't getting high-ticket donors. There was clearly an energy about him. People clearly loved what he was saying. If the contest was fair, she likely would have lost. What I mean is, throwing 100,000 people off the roads in Brooklyn, stealing Nevada outright, shutting down polling locations, people's voter IDs just mysteriously disappearing. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not on the rolls. We don't know what happened. Or even having your party affiliation all of a sudden just change. These closed primaries excluded millions of people who wanted to vote for Sanders. They just couldn't do it. The party itself was excluding people in that way. This kind of soft voter suppression. I would make the case that kicking people off the rolls and dropping party affiliations is not just soft. I'm talking about, in regards to soft, I just mean we're having a closed primary. The only people who can vote were people who were part of the party and who knew about this months and months and months in advance. Not to mention the news stories attacking Sanders, the things that Deborah Wasserman-Schultz in Brazil was doing behind the scenes, the taking the guy's email list. It was one thing after another. It was just a sleazy election. Again, all metrics showed that Sanders was the strongest candidate. The DNC already had the apparatus, superdelegates, that could come in a pinch and say, all right, we need to give this to the strongest candidate because we want our candidate to win. The point is to derive who's the strongest candidate. That's not what happened. The Democratic Party said, it's her turn. We don't care what the public wants. It's her turn. I've made this argument before. When Obama got Hillary's support for that contest, if you remember, they had this thing called Pumas, Party Unity My Ass. Essentially, it's Hillary's turn, I'm not voting for Obama. Hillary came out and vouched for Obama and said, essentially, I'm supporting this guy. He made her Secretary of State. Now, I've always made the contention that the reason he made her Secretary of State is because for her support, she knew she was going to run in 2016. Meaning he was going to give her a springboard to run in 2016. We don't care what you want. It's her turn. Over and over again, that was the narrative. It's her turn. She didn't care what the public wanted. The party did not care what the public wanted. It was Hillary's turn. And Hillary lost because of that. What I'm getting at is the DNC could have did something different. Oh, hell, even if they just didn't cheat Sanders, they could have did something different. Their behavior, the things that they did, was for party. It had nothing at all to do with the country or the greater good. They didn't care about the greater good. I'm making this point that Bill Maher is like, yeah, that party, party before people. Yeah, dude, your party is like that too. Your party is like that too. Let's not pretend that all of this is on them. The people who you yourself are affiliated with function in the same way as recently as 6 months ago.